All right. Good morning, guys. Thank you for joining us for our TA training today. We are going to be talking about the five types of self-care. My name is Mimi Phillips, and I use the she, her pronouns. I'm the youth training coordinator here at Families Together in New York State, and I'm dual credentialed as a youth peer advocate as well as a family peer advocate with lived experience navigating the mental health system on my own behalf and experience navigating systems as a caregiver. So I'd like to get to know all of you. So let's take a moment for you to introduce yourself and answer today's icebreaker question. What hobby would you like to try? Please share your name, your pronouns, and your role within your organization. Additionally, please be sure to mention the county that you work in so that we can get a sense of the diverse regions that are represented here today. You can come off of mute or you can also put it in the chat, but I love to give everyone a moment to introduce themselves. Also, feel free to turn your cameras on if you would like.
I'll go first. My name is Claire Cousin. I use she, her pronouns. I am the Assistant Director of the Columbia Green Addiction Coalition, and we are in Columbia and Greene counties. And a hobby I would like to try. I enjoy painting. I just don't get enough time to do it. So I'd love to do it more often.
Love that. It's very nice to meet you. Would anyone else like to introduce themselves? Hey, Mary Beth, I see that you introduced yourself in the chat. It's nice to meet you. Hi, Emma. Nice to meet you again. Really wants to learn how to crochet. Ooh, you guys are talking about some artistic hobbies. Got to make things pretty. Alrighty. And Iris, if you'd like to chime in, please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and move right along. Alrighty, so for today, we're going to be exploring several aspects of self care, starting with understanding what it truly means. We will look at the barriers that might prevent us from practicing it effectively. Not only that, but we will then break down the five different types of self care and what is crucial for maintaining a healthy work life balance. Throughout this training, we will touch on creating an actionable burnout prevention plan, something that is vital for all of our well beings. I do just want to give you a note on this content and take a moment to acknowledge that the topic of self care can stir up a range of emotions, sometimes shame, frustration, or disappointment. It's important to understand that self care is often misunderstood and can be misused to unfairly blame individuals for their own burnout. Let's remember that burnout is often a structural or systemic issue, not a personal failing. So if you're struggling with self care and you find it challenging, please know that this is a perfectly normal experience and that this doesn't reflect on your skills or your competence. We are all navigating a very complex world, and so it's crucial for us to be kind to ourselves. So, what is self care? I wanted to see if anyone had an idea of what self care means for them. And so, if you would like to, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and share what self care means for you, or you can write it in the chat. Taking a time to invest in self. I like that. Anyone else? Giving myself grace, making time to pour into myself. Absolutely. I really like the idea of giving yourself grace. So being okay with where you are rather than kind of beating yourself up for it or wanting improvement. Giving myself time to regroup and relax. Yes, sometimes giving ourselves permission to rest is one of the hardest things to do, but that really is self care. So, all right. So, let's see if this will work. There we go. So, self care is the ability, one second. Self care is the ability to care for oneself through awareness, self control, and self reliance in order to. Are slides not going all the way through, Jay?
Or yeah, the slides aren't changing.
That's really funny. They're changing here, but they're not changing there. Are they changing now? Yes. Great. Okay. Hold on 1 second. Apologies, guys. All right, let's get back to the slide that we were on before. So cooperate. Okay. So self care is the ability to care for oneself through awareness, self control, and self reliance. These elements help us achieve and maintain optimal health and well being. Self awareness is our understanding of our needs and feelings. It's about knowing when to take a step back and recharge. Self control involves making choices that align with our best interests, even when it's challenging. And self reliance is about trusting ourselves to meet our needs. Remember that self care is a personal journey, so this looks different for everyone. It's really not about perfection, but rather about finding what works best for you. So try not to be too hard on yourself. So let's talk about the truth about self care. So, self care is not indulgence. We have been sold this idea that self care is about treating yourself, but in reality, it's about preserving yourself, especially in peer roles where the emotional labor is high. Self care is survival, and we need to stop pretending that it's something that we have to do perfectly or alone. Self care is not selfish, lazy, or indulgent. It's a necessary part of sustaining your well being, especially in helping professions. It's not just bubble baths and spa days, it includes setting boundaries, making time for rest, and simply saying no. It's about sustainability, not luxury. And the shame and stigma of doing it right says that there should be a way that it looks for all of us, but there's no one size fit all formula for self care. You don't have to earn rest. You're not failing if your self care doesn't look like someone else's. Self care can be messy, inconsistent, but it's still valid. We are not meant to do this alone. So, community care is when others step in to support you and when you do the same. Some examples of this might look like coworkers who cover for each other when someone takes time off, checking in on your friends, and even sharing resources. Self care is more sustainable when it's supported by systems and community. Alrighty, so while we're going through these slides, we're going to be working on a burnout prevention plan. Jay's going to go ahead and share that in the chat with you guys. Feel free to use this for yourself. Feel free to use this with youth that you're working with, but you can also use this as we're going through these slides to help build your own burnout prevention plan. So I'll give Jay a moment to do that and to make sure that you guys all have access to the document.
Yes, the document is in the chat. Just if anybody has any trouble viewing it, just let me know. Put it in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jay. All right, so let's talk about the barriers that often stand in the way of self care, as these can be quite significant and can affect us all differently. First, we have financial constraints. So, self care can often be marketed as expensive, and many self care options come with a price tag, making it harder for some people to access them. Structural inequities can also make things like basic care, which could include therapy or even taking time off, feel out of reach. Then there's time. Our lives are busy, often filled with caregiving responsibilities and work demands that leave little room for us to rest. Even when we have time, guilt or even pressure to be productive can get in our way. Often, self care is the first thing that people sacrifice when the schedule gets tight. Energy levels also play a crucial role. After a long day, finding the energy for self care can be challenging. Sometimes we know what we need, we just don't have the energy to do it. Isolation and burnout can further complicate things. When we feel alone or overwhelmed, self care can feel like an insurmountable task. The do it all yourself mindset can even make self care feel lonely or impossible. Without support systems, it's harder to maintain consistent care practices. And burnout isn't just exhaustion, it's emotional depletion, cynicism, and even reduced capacity. It's often a systemic issue, not a personal failure. So when we're burned out, even basic self care can feel overwhelming. As we continue to go through these slides, we will go over each barrier and how to address them. Starting with financial. Self care doesn't have to cost money. Sometimes it's really about knowing where to look. These resources can be often underutilized, especially by those of us that are in helping roles who are used to giving more than we receive. So, we have employee assistance programs or an EAP. Many workplaces can offer free counseling, wellness workshops, and even referrals to community programs through EAPs. I would make sure that you look into yours. We have libraries and community based organizations where you might have free access to books, events, classes, and even wellness kits or passes to local attractions. We have faith communities. Many faith communities offer support groups, meals, or wellness events, and there's no need usually to be a member or congregant. Some health insurance preventative care plans offer wellness rewards, gym discounts, and even free screenings. You can go to community health fairs, back to school events, or even local expos where they might offer free items and services. Some therapists, yoga studios, or wellness practitioners offer sliding scale or pay what you can options. And then also, just I know that this is not necessarily a self care thing, but I do think it encompasses it. You can use community fridges and pantries. Access to food and hygiene items can be a form of self care when basic needs are met without financial stress. And so, if you're under severe financial stress and you're having a hard time meeting those basic needs, utilizing community services for that can be helpful. As well as there are plenty of free wellness apps. So, apps like the Insight Timer, Smiling Mind, or My Strength, some of these may be offered or covered through your insurance or even your employee assistance program. Others are completely free. They can provide free meditations, mood tracking, and coping tools. You'll also see these barriers in the worksheet that I sent you, so feel free not to take notes. Um, so, time constraints. Time is one of the biggest barriers to self care, especially when we're juggling multiple roles. Many of us might be parents, we're also friends, we are daughters, we are sons, we're aunts, we're uncles, we have a lot going on. So, even small shifts like reframing how we use supervision or even trying a new Pomodoro timer can make a really big difference. So I like to treat my time like money and allocate it intentionally. I block out time for rest, tasks, and transitions, and I suggest that others do the same. Rest versus restoration. So rest is actually passive. That is more like when we are asleep or we're taking breaks, whereas restoration is active. It's doing something that recharges you. So it's really important to know the difference and what you need most. Use your supervision for time planning. Supervision isn't just for case reviews or chatting with your supervisor about the day to day. You can also use it to reflect on your workload, to set boundaries, and to even plan your time more effectively. Delegate when possible. As a YPA, you should be asking for help. Share your responsibilities with your coworkers, your friends, or your family. Prioritize what matters. Not everything is urgent. You can use tools like the Eisenhower matrix or the must, should, could list to focus your energy and figure out how and what you should be prioritizing. Also, you can use options like the Pomodoro technique, where you work in focused 25-minute bursts with 5-minute breaks in between, which is really great for staying on task without burning out. There are apps for this, or you can simply just set your own timer. All right, addressing energy levels. We often think of self care as something that we do when we feel good, but it's just as important to do self care when we don't. The key is adjusting your expectations based on your energy, not forcing yourself to meet someone else's standard. Energy isn't all or nothing, it's actually a spectrum. So when your energy is low, self care can feel like another work task. So here's how we're going to use our energy, not work against it. So if you have low or no energy, this is a time to focus on micro actions. Things like deep breathing, stretching, drinking water. Give yourself permission to do the bare minimum and know that it still counts. Use sensory tools, perhaps soft lighting, calming sounds, even a cozy texture to soothe without effort. If you're in a medium energy, try low effort wins, something like a small walk or tidying a space in your house, journaling. Engage in restorative activities that don't drain you, something like listening to music, maybe some light reading, or even a hobby. Use this time to recharge, not just catch up. And if you're having a high energy moment, take advantage of the momentum. Cook, clean, exercise, plan ahead. This is a great time to build in preventative care. This could look like meal prepping, organizing your space, or scheduling breaks. Use this time to set yourself up for when your energy dips again. So, just a quick check in with yourself. Feel free to share this in the chat or to come off of mute. What's your current energy level today? I will say I am feeling medium. We have a low, low, medium. Awesome. It's always just a good, quick thing to do. I even do this during my workday where I check in with myself and figure out where my energy level is. You can even adjust your work as a YPA to this if your schedule allows. And so, if I am in a really high energy space, that might be a great time to speak with youth, to work on planning an event, to be doing things that are very active in the office. But if I am in a low energy, perhaps that looks like finishing up some documentation, that looks like filing some things away, something that's going to match my energy level. All right, so addressing the barrier of isolation. Pulling yourself by up by your bootstraps does not work alone, but it is something that a lot of people like to say, especially to people that work in this field. Isolation is a major barrier to self care, especially in roles where we're always expected to be the helper. Here are a few ways that you can reconnect and rebuild support. You can tap into community care. So, online communities like peer support groups, forums, or even social media spaces for advocates and caregivers can provide connection and a safe space. You can use work based resources like employee resource groups or ERGs, which often provide affinity spaces, wellness providers, or even peer check ins. Volunteering is actually a really great way to bridge isolation, as giving back can also be a way to receive connection and purpose. You can get involved in a faith based organization if that aligns with you. Many offer support regardless of your religious affiliation. You can also be intentional about your outreach. Text a friend, join a virtual event, or even attend a local gathering. Even small steps count. Self care doesn't mean doing it all alone. Community care reminds us that we're not meant to carry everything by ourselves. Sometimes the most radical form of self care is letting someone else show up for you. So, addressing burnout. Burnout is real and it's not your fault. Burnout is more than just being tired, it is emotional exhaustion, detachment, and a reduced sense of accomplishment. Again, this is often a systemic issue, not a personal failure. So, during this time, you can build your own burnout prevention toolkit. This toolkit will help you to identify barriers to your self care, explore realistic strategies to overcome them, and then build a personalized self care routine based on your energy levels. So, how do you use this toolkit during the training? Start with your barriers, as the first pages list the common barriers and things that you will need to address them. And then as we explore the 5 types of self-care, you'll want to choose one low energy action, one medium energy action, and one high energy action for each type of self-care. By the end, you should have a flexible, energy aware self care toolkit to help prevent and recover from burnout. Remember, burnout isn't a sign of weakness, it's a signal that something needs to change. This toolkit is here to help you reflect, plan, and prepare. Whether you're in prevention mode or recovery mode, you deserve care that meets you exactly where you are. So let's talk about the barriers that often stand in the way of self care. These can be quite significant and affect us all differently. So you don't have to share this if you don't want to, but we can talk about which barrier is most restricting your self-care right now. I would say for most of us in the YPA field, a lot of times it becomes energy and burnout. But even financial and time can also be constricting. For me, I would say the most restricting to my self-care is a lack of time. If you'd like to share, you can put it in the chat. And if you'd like to keep that to yourself, that's great too. This is just a place for you to check in with yourself and figure out how you're going to accomplish this self-care plan. Alrighty, so moving on to the 5 types of self-care. So there are 5 core types of self-care, which each support a different part of your well-being. We have physical care, self-care, emotional self-care, social self-care, spiritual self-care, and intellectual self-care. Self-care isn't just about what you do. Apart It's about what part of you needs care. Sorry. These 5 types help us think more holistically. You might be great at physical self care, but actually neglecting your social or spiritual needs. That's okay. Awareness is the first step, and this is where we get to tackle that. So let's start with physical self care. Physical self care is taking care of your body and the environment around you, focusing on what's within your control. This can include key areas like hygiene, nutrition, movement, sleep, and maintaining your physical space. These are essential components that form the foundation of your well being. Think about how these elements can impact your day to day life. Proper hygiene and nutrition fuel our bodies. Movement and sleep recharge us, and a tidy space can significantly affect our mood or productivity. Consider what small, manageable actions that you can take in each of these areas. Even the smallest changes can lead to significant improvement over time. Here, we're going to dive into some practical ways to implement physical self care in our daily routines. Remember that there are some simple actions that can make big differences. So, you could consider incorporating something like gentle stretching or self massage into your day. These activities are great for easing tension and promoting relaxation. Breathing exercises can also be incredibly beneficial. Just a few minutes of deep breathing can actually help center you, reducing your stress levels. And sometimes something as small as covering your eyes or rinsing your face with some cold water can refresh your senses and give you a quick reset. You can also think about your nutrition and hydration. Maybe grabbing a quick snack or a glass of water can be a small yet impactful way to care for your body. Underestimate the power of taking a walk or even just preparing a simple meal. These activities not only nourish your body, but they also provide you with a well needed mental break. Finally, maintaining your physical space helps too, whether it's brushing your teeth, taking a quick shower, or even clearing the floors and clutter. These actions contribute to a sense of well being. Remember that structured activities like an exercise class or cooking a new recipe can also be fulfilling, but it's about finding what works for you and making self-care a regular part of your life. So, here you can pick something from each of the categories based on where you are and what you think speaks to you. That way, if you're low energy, you can do stretching for that day. But if you're high energy, maybe you want to go to that new spin cycle class. Emotional self care is about nurturing your inner world, and it's just as crucial as physical self care. First, tending to your feelings and emotional needs is foundational. It requires us to check in with ourselves regularly and ask, how am I feeling today? This simple question can guide us in making choices that honor our needs. Next, practicing self compassion and self acceptance. Remembering to be kind to ourselves, especially during challenging times, is not indulgent, it's essential. By accepting who we are, we create a solid base for personal growth and happiness. Finally, boosting your mood and resilience. This helps us navigate life's ups and downs with greater ease. You should embrace activities or practices that uplift your spirit and strengthen your emotional boundaries. So let's focus on the different ways that you can nurture your emotional well being. First, consider the power of an affirmation. Standing in front of a mirror and speaking positive words can truly uplift your spirit, and it's a simple yet powerful practice. Gratitude journaling is a wonderful way to reflect on the positive aspects of your life, and just jotting down a few things that you're grateful for can enhance your appreciation for the present. Grounding exercises are perfect for staying connected with you here and now, and they can help you feel centered and calm. For something lighthearted, like watching a feel good video or listening to calming music, that can instantly boost your spirits. And it's a gentle reminder of the joy and peace every day in our moments. Lastly, consider engaging in a low effort hobby or watching a lighthearted movie. These activities are excellent for unwinding and allowing yourself to relax. Our five senses, sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell, are also powerful tools for grounding and emotional regulation. When we're overwhelmed, engaging the senses can help bring us back to a present moment. Maybe light a candle, maybe take some time to pet your dog, cuddle up with a cozy blanket, play some soothing jazz. This could also look like looking at calming images, getting out in nature, maybe even using essential oils or savoring a small snack or drink mindfully. Sometimes the best way to reset is to simply step away, physically or mentally, from our daily routines. Vacations and staycations give us permission to rest without guilt and to reconnect with ourselves and loved ones. When you're feeling more energized, you might explore deeper practices like meditation, vision boarding, or even trying a new hobby. Remember that emotional self care is about honoring your needs and finding what makes you feel good. Social self care isn't just about having friends. It's about cultivating relationships that nourish you. You should focus on building and nurturing relationships that offer connection, support, and a sense of belonging. This can include mentors, coworkers, family members, romantic partners, and even online communities. The key is to make sure that you feel connected, supported, and understood. Humans are wired for connection. Social self care helps us feel seen, heard, and supported. Isolation can deepen stress and burnout, so connection is a protective factor. So, even something like sending a simple text or even thinking of someone who you care about can shift your emotional state. Spending time in those memories, thinking about those good moments, things that you've done, even revisiting like old photos can be very soothing. Spending time with someone or asking for help can be a powerful act of self care, especially when you're feeling overwhelmed. And it's okay to explain to people that you'd like to spend time, but then set some boundaries. I'd like to spend time, but I just don't want to go out. I would like to stay at home. Can you come over? Is also fine, especially if you're in that medium energy. If you have high energy, you could join a group or volunteer, which can help you build new connections and feel a part of something bigger. So as you continue to build your burnout prevention plan, you should choose one social self-care action from each of the energy levels. Some people also like to separate these into social groups, and so you might think about what are the actions that you like to take with your romantic partner versus what are the actions that you like to take with your friends that are supportive versus what are the actions that you like to take with your coworkers in a work environment that are supportive. That's another way to take a look at your social self care. So, connecting with your values, purpose, and sense of meaning is an essential aspect of spiritual self care. It helps ground us and provides clarity in our daily lives. So, consider how you might connect with your faith. Reflect on your experiences or immerse yourself in the beauty of nature. Each of these pathways can nurture your spiritual well being and enhance your overall sense of meaning. Spiritual self care varies for each of us, whether it's through structured practices or spontaneous experiences. Finding what resonates with you is key. Spiritual self care is also deeply personal. It's about connecting to your values, your purpose, and what gives your life meaning. For some, this includes faith or religion. For others, it can be about mindfulness, nature, or community. Even small acts like setting an intention or sitting quietly can help you reconnect with your inner self. Reading something meaningful or spending time in nature can restore your sense of peace and perspective. And engaging in spiritual practices and giving back to causes that you care about can deepen your sense of purpose and belonging. Intellectual self care helps us stay curious, engaged, and mentally stimulated. It's not just about learning, it's about feeling productive and connected to your growth. Think of it as nurturing your intellect by exploring new ideas, setting personal or professional goals, and finding meaningful ways to engage with the world around you. It's about giving yourself the opportunity to grow and learn continuously. Key to intellectual self care is keeping your mind active and engaged. This doesn't always mean that you need to enroll in a formal education program. It could be something as simple as reading a new book or learning a new skill. But remember that intellectual growth is a lifelong journey. So by dedicating time to stimulate your mind, you're investing in your overall well being. Intellectual self care, even watching a short video or completing a small task can give you a sense of accomplishment when you're feeling low. In the medium energy category, you can try things like reading, journaling, or attending a local class, which can help you reflect and expand your thinking. And if you've got lots of energy, taking a course, this could be an academic course, or even just joining a group activity, can challenge you and build your confidence. This is also a good place to set goals. So while this isn't one of the five places or types of self-care, work-life balance is very important, especially for our work. So when work takes over, personal care often falls to the side, and that is when burnout creeps in. Work-life balance is about sustainability. You can't pour from an empty cup. So as a YPA, think about a moment where you've thought about, how is it going with my job? Are things feeling balanced? Do you feel like you're constantly on? Do you feel like you have time to recharge? Do you feel overwhelmed? Do you feel like you are making good use of your time? Do you feel as though your job is meaningful? Setting boundaries isn't selfish, but it's necessary. So, integrating small self care actions into your workday can make a big difference. And it's important to note that balance doesn't equal splitting things with an equal time. So it's not about splitting time between your work and personal life 50-50. It's about feeling fulfilled and not constantly depleted. Boundaries are also essential in our work life balance. So, saying no, setting limits, and protecting your time are acts of self care. This could mean things like logging out at 5 o'clock and not checking your work phone after hours, not responding to emails at 11 o'clock because someone has reached out to you. So, just setting those boundaries and making sure that you're balancing your work life with your personal life. Life and work will ebb and flow, so the goal is to integrate care into both, not to achieve a perfect balance. You might go through times where there's a lot going on in your personal life, and that shifts things in your work life balance, and work might also feel overwhelming. You might have times in which your work life feels really overwhelming and you're working on a big project, and so your personal life feels like it's not getting as much attention. So it's really about the ebb and flow and learning how to balance it. This is easy where we can check in regularly with ourselves. So just be reminded that you might need to change. So what worked last month might not work today. So adjust as needed. So reflecting there, which area of self-care do you think needs the most attention right now? I think for myself, I would say my intellectual self-care needs the most attention at the moment. Please feel free to share in the chat or you can come off mute. I see we have social and work-life balance. Also sometimes do this daily as well. I think that the person that shows up on Monday might be really lacking in their social, and then I might hang out with that person that I need to feel recharged after on a Tuesday. And then I realize that it's really, my physical self-care that is lacking on a Wednesday because I haven't gone outside or taken a walk or whatever it is. And so it's also okay that this might shift. It might shift throughout the day, it might shift throughout the hour, it might shift throughout the week and throughout the month. So this is just a great place to evaluate which area kind of needs the most attention for you and where do you want to focus. This will definitely help you with creating those goals for yourself, and working towards burnout. I also see we have emotional. Yeah, it's really important that we find some balance here. Okay, so in that space, let's talk about the 12 stages of burnout. So this image kind of shows you, and it kind of starts off with that blue flame. So it's kind of alluding to being more of that cold, slow thing, and then it just kind of gets out of control. So the first stage is compulsion to prove oneself. So you're driven to show your worth through overachievement. Many of us kind of start in this stage and know that we've kind of been in this stage a lot. You might then go to working harder, so increasing your effort, longer hours, less rest. From there, things progress to neglecting your needs. This can look like ignoring sleep, nutrition, and even social connections. Then we have displacement of conflicts, so avoiding problems and emotional discomfort. You feel like it's easier to blame others for your situation or for your problems. Stage 5, revision of values. So prioritizing work over relationships and self. Stage 6, denial of problems. So blaming others, becoming cynical or irritable, especially if they're arising from work stress. Withdrawing, so isolating from your social and emotional support systems, even your romantic partner is definitely a sign that you're in stage 7. Stage 8 is kind of an odd behavioral changes. And so you might have increased irritability, forgetfulness, or even indulge in escapism. This is typically where our loved ones start to kind of notice that there's something wrong with us and that we're not as regulated as we normally are and are in need of help. Um, in stage 9, we have depersonalization, where we start to feel disconnected from ourself as well as from others. Stage 10 is kind of an inner emptiness, that feeling of being hollow, numb, and emotionally flat. And then you have stage 11, which is basically what we would call depression. So moving into that loss of hope, motivation, and joy, a sense of apathy. And then stage 12 is burnout collapse. That is at the point where you have reached mental, emotional, and physical exhaustion. And at that point, you are in deep need of recovery. Throughout this entire process, you're going to be at any stage where you can recover from too. So burnout doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual process, and recognizing these signs helps us to intervene early. While prevention is ideal, recovery is in fact possible. So the toolkit that we're building today is designed to support both. So what happens if you're already burnt out or you're already in burnout? For that, we can use the 3R approach, which is a powerful method to support your well-being. So first, recognize your triggering factors and symptoms. This is about being mindful and aware of what sets off your stress, and it's the foundation of self-care. So if you know that things like missing the bus on your way to work are things that make you really upset, how can you program that in so that that's no longer kind of an issue? Or if you know that something is triggering as, like fighting with your siblings, that can be very triggering. That's always kind of what it is. Like just being mindful of the fact that that is something that can set off your stress, and that you might need to indulge in some additional self care. So the next step is to reverse those changes. So this means taking actionable steps to counteract stressors and regain balance. So think of this as kind of hitting the reset button when things get overwhelming. But it's also okay to do this in a slow and gradual process. Trying to do this very rapidly can also feel very overwhelming and contribute to burnout. So it's okay to make small, manageable changes as you're going through your process, as that will lead to progress. And then lastly is finding resilience. So building resilience equips you to cope with stress effectively, which reduces the risk of future burnouts. So it's like having a toolkit ready for life's challenges. Does anyone have any questions about the types of self-care, ways that you might be able to take care of yourself or work with the youth, to promote this? or even the barriers. I don't see any questions in the chat. So I'm gonna give everyone a second in case there are any questions. All right, I don't see any questions or reactions in the chat, so we can move on. Thank you so much for coming today. I'm just going to go over some upcoming events and offerings that we have here at Families Together. So for upcoming events, we actually have an upcoming CTAC webinar on career planning for YPAs. That will be held next Thursday, October 23rd at 12 p.m. In this webinar, we will discuss goal setting and the skills that we receive from the YPA experience. We will explore career pathways for YPAs as they age out and other resources. And after participating in this webinar, attendees will be able to identify options for potential post-expiration career pathways and have a list of resources to prepare for those preferred career pathways. So if you're interested in that, the registration is available on the CTAC website. And if Jay has it up, he might be able to put that in the chat as well. The next thing is our YPA events. And so we do have our Lived Experience Cafe, which is an affinity space for credentialed YPAs to come and talk about what's going well in the position, what they might need some additional support in. We also have our youth peer meetings. These meetings are actually open to youth all the way from the age of 12 until 30, so you don't have to be credentialed to be in this space. It's also a good resource to share with youth that you may be working with in your local community. And it's just a place for people to come and speak about tools, strategies, advocacy, to network, and even discuss mentorship from a peer-to-peer space. And then we have so our monthly TA trainings, which are designed to meet the educational and professional development needs of youth peer advocates. And for those upcoming events, our next Lived Experience Cafe will be on October 22nd. Our next youth peer meeting will be on Wednesday, November 12th. And our next TA training will be on November 20th. Also have our youth peer advocate credential advisory committee. And so if you're a credentialed YPA who is interested in being a part of this committee, they help to become leaders in the community as well as they uphold the validity of the YPA credentials. So if you're interested in that, feel free to scan the QR code at the bottom and you can fill out an interest form. Our next TA training is going to be on November 20th, and we will be covering collaborative documentation. We'll explore how collaborative documentation can transform progress notes into tools of empowerment, transparency, and advocacy. And as YPAs, you will learn how to co-create notes that reflect the youth voice, honor lived experience, and use strength-based language. So we always value your feedback. And so Jay is also going to pop in the link here to our survey. I very much ask for all of you to fill out our survey. Let us know if you enjoyed this professional development training, if you would like to see something else. We very much value your feedback and want to take that into account. These are just the resources. And with that, I will say thank you for attending. If you have a need for any additional information for Families Together, feel free to scan the QR code, which will take us to our link tree. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok for further connections. Again, my name is Maiko or Mimi Phillips. I'm the Youth Training Coordinator here at Families Together in New York State. And if you'd like to contact me by phone number or email, it is below. And with that, I hope that you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. You're welcome. Absolutely. And at any point in time, if you guys need anything, feel free to reach out. Have a good day.